Guys, today we are going to discuss right how we can configure global configurations using Entity Framework Core. I mean using Fluent API, how we can do global configuration, how we can do right entity level configurations, and as well as we are also going to discuss right how to do the same thing right. I mean property level configurations using Fluent API. So let us start with the global configurations. As we have already discussed, right? Global configuration means what? So first of all, there are three level of configurations. One is global, another one is entity, another one is proper. So global means it is for the entire model. Entire model. Entire model means whatever the number of right entities are there, these configurations will be applicable for all the entities. Entity means it is specific to an entity, specific to a entity. So what exactly it means? So how many properties are there within this entity or whatever configurations are required at the entity level, that what we can do using entity. Property means specific to a property of an entity, specific to a right a property of an entity, specific to a property of an entity. So these are the different level of configurations. So let us try to understand what do you mean by global level configuration, what do you mean by entity configurations, and what do you mean by this property configuration. So global level configuration means what? What are the things we are going to do? So in global level configurations, right, what are the things we can do? We can set the default schema for all tables. For example, what is our requirement? Our requirement is that we don't want to create the table schema using the default DBO, right? What is the schema? What is by default created in the database? Rather than our business requirement is that we need to create all the schema using something called admin schema. All the tables we want to create using admin schema. Is that possible? Yes, that is possible. How? We'll see. But for that purpose, right, what we need to do, we need to configure the schema globally. Once we configure the schema globally, then it will be applicable to all the database tables that are going to be created as part of the context. So setting default decimal precision global. So what exactly it means? It means, for example, we are having multiple entities and each entity can contain some kind of a decimal properties. Now, what is your requirement? So by default, it is going to create the decimal column as 18,2. Means it is going to take a more storage space because right whenever if you are dealing with some kind of a price column or some kind of a amount column, and if you are sure that the maximum right what I can say 10 precision is fine, then why I'm going to waste a 8 precision? So I mean why I'm going to create the value with a higher size? Right? So we can reduce this thing globally also. How we can do this? Now we can configure the decimal precisions to something globally. And once we configure this precision globally, then what will happen? Now whatever number of properties are there in each entity, right? For example, I'm having 5 entities, and each entity is containing some kind of one entity containing one decimal property, another containing two decimal property, another contains three decimal property. Now I'm not going to configure the decimal, right, the decimal property individually. I can configure them globally such as 18, such as 10, comma 2. So what exactly it means? So whenever a decimal property going to be created in the database, by default it is going to be created with 10, comma 2. That's what we can also say. Similarly, we can also set the maximum length of all string properties. So definitely, right, whenever we are creating entities, each entity going to contain some kind of a string property, right? So what is the default string value? The default is going to be n marker of max. And if it is a primary key, then the default size is going to be 450. Now, if I am creating a column with the n marker of max, means what? It is going to take a more size. Right? So, and what is my requirement? Okay, let's give a default size as 200 characters. Let assume maximum 200 characters are going to be stored on the string properties. And what I can do is I can also configure the same globally so that all the properties, right, all the string properties are going to be created with the database column with size 200. That is also what we can do. So configure the cascade delete behavior global. Means what? Now, let's see, what I want to do is I want to apply cascade delete restrict to all the right foreign key properties. So we can do this individually, But what I want is I want to apply this behavior globally. Then in that case, right, we can also we can also configure that all the reference properties are going to use the cascade delete behavior either globally, set null, null, right, whatever you want to, you can say. So configuring all string properties to be Unicode. So guys, remember, can anybody tell me what is the difference between Harker and Envarker? So what is the difference between Harker and Envarker?
In
Sir, where care in n
Yes.
where care we can store any symbol also, and in only where care we can store only string, not a specific character. I think
Yes.
so.
Yes. So basically, Envarker means it is going to accept, right, Unicode characters. Unicode character means apart from English, right, any other language character, Hindi, Marathi, Bengali, Odia, right, whatever other kind of a character, if you want to accept, then you have to use the data type Envarker. And marker means it is specific to English character only. And another difference is that here, right, each character is going to take 2 bytes, and here with marker, each character is going to take 1 byte. So definitely, if I'm using marker, it is going to take less space, right? Less memory. And less memory means better performance, right? But at the same time, you need to make sure, right? If I'm using marker, then you have to be very sure that other than English is not acceptable. If your application is working with data where it is only going to deal with English character, then you can go with the marker. Otherwise, you have to go with the enmarker. And by default, right? All the string properties are going to be created with the enmarker data type. But if you want, right, then you can also create all the string properties to be marker data type, or you can say non-Unicode. How to do this? We will see. But that is also possible. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Right. Now see, guys, remember, whenever we are working with real-time application, the auditing table are very, very important. Auditing tables in the sense what? Now, created art, updated art, created by, modified by. So these are nothing but your auditing tables, which is going to track when the data is created, when the data is modified, all these things. For a better performance, right, what we can do is we can also set this auditing tables, right, columns globally. For example, created art, updated art column value are there. So this created art value should be created when new entry is created. Updated is going to be right, the value is going to be updated when a new entity is created as well as when the entity is going to be updated. So
Sir,
all
it's
the
like
column value.
magic tables only, right?
No, magic tables are different things. Let's give me 1 minute. Okay. So basically, see, magic table are nothing but you can say, right, what I can say, whenever you are using a trigger, at that time, whatever the data is deleted or whatever the data is going to be inserted, right, as part of the trigger, if you want to access those deleted data or inserted data, right, then for that purpose you are going to make use of a deleted or inserted magic table. So magic table are going to be different, and this is our auditing column. Auditing column means in the main entity only, in the database table only, these are going to be created as column. But what we want to do this, or what we want to is, right, I want this column value to be updated and inserted automatically from the application. I'm not going to set this value manually. So globally, I'm going to set, and these values are going to be inserted and updated automatically by the application when the data is going to be inserted as well as updated. Clear?
Yes, sir, clear. Sir, then is this magic table thing possible with this entity framework code first
Okay.
approach?
See, first of all, you just tell. Magic tables are going to be part of your trigger. Outside of the
Yes.
trigger, can you access those things?
No.
So, and using entity framework code, there's nothing to be deal with the trigger. So using entity framework code, we cannot handle the trigger kind of concept, right? Trigger means on the
Okay.
database only you need to create and you need to manage them.
Okay.
Okay?
So if in case you, as you said it earlier, this will be more useful when you are not
Give me only,
handling with the database. So the database team will create a trigger and they ask us to execute it in our code, right?
give me 1 minute. Give me 1 minute, guys.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Please continue your question.
No, what I'm asking is, so
Mm.
as you said initially, this will be more useful when we are not dealing with the database. I mean, someone is taking care of that database. So in that case, if that the situation comes into the picture, so database team will create the trigger and they will ask us to execute it. I mean, this is the trigger you are going to.
See,
However,
first of all,
however, we are executing.
let me clarify. Let me clarify. So once you create the trigger, no need to execute them explicitly. Automatically, whenever the data you are inserting into the actual table, right, the trigger are going to be executed and they will manage the right auditing table. So you do not need to do anything special to handle the trigger. Only you need to create the trigger and you need to right start the trigger, right, so that whenever you insert the data into your actual table, behind the scene trigger will handle all other things, right? So you do
Understood,
not need to,
understood.
right? You do not need to do anything special
Yeah.
from
Actually, I know the concept, but I never worked on that. Yeah. So,
yeah. So trigger means this is going to be executed automatically. So when we insert some data or when we modify or when we update or delete, so you can create insert a trigger, delete a trigger, update a trigger, right? And based on the type of operations you are performing, automatically they are going to manage the auditing. Clear?
okay. Okay. Yes, sir. So,
So this is, yeah. Okay. What is your next question?
no, sir. That is like we can see it in database. Yeah.
Clear, guys? So these are the things what we can handle at the global level. Means it will be right applicable to all the entities and their respective properties, right? So let us see how we can do this thing one by one. So we have all discussed, right? As we can set the default schema for all table. For setting default schema, what I need to do is I need to use model builder and you have to use a hard default schema and whatever schema you want to specify as the default schema, right, for all of your tables, that schema you need to specify. Clear? How to specify default schema?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is the syntax for creating the default schema right in your application. So then second thing what I need to do is I need to discuss, right, setting default decimal precision globally. And guys, remember, right, what I need to do is, right, so basically you need to decide, right, what should be the default precision and the default scale value. Let's assume, right, okay, let me take this code and to understand this better, it's what I'm doing here, I'm putting here. Now, now you can see I have not specified any specific entity within this method. Am I specify any specific entity? See, if I'm specifying specific entity, then it is based on entity configuration. So whenever I'm talking about global configuration means it will be applicable to all the entities. And if my requirement is to specify the decimal and the scale value as 18, comma 3, maximum 18 digit, and after the decimal point, the 3 digits, if that is what I want to specify globally for all the decimal properties of all entities, then how I can do this? You just tell me how we can do this. If we right, for example, right, if you are having one right, if you are having multiple entities and each entity having multiple decimal properties, how you can set this? First of all, what should be the step one? Step one is fetch all the entities. Yes or no? Yes or no?
Yes.
Right? Fetch all the entities. Then what should be the step two? In each entity, fetch all the decimal properties. fetch all decimal properties, and then in each decimal property, set the precision and the scale. Set precision and what you can say, set precision and scale. That is what we need to do. Let us see how we can do this. Right? First of all, what I'm doing here, that model builder dot model dot get entity type. So this model builder dot model dot get entity type going to give me all the entities whatever registered into the context object. Means all the entities it is going to retrieve. So all the entity means what? All the entities which we have registered here using DP set. Getting my point? So first of all, what I need to do, I need to fetch all the entities, and this is going to return me all the entities, and one by one we are accessing each entity. The first statement is clear,
Yes.
right?
Yes,
So we
sir.
are entities. So once I specify one entity, then what I need to do, I need to fetch all the properties, right? Similarly, so model dot entity get entity types means it is going to return me all the entities. Similarly, for this particular entity, we can call the get properties method, and this get properties method, right, is going to return me all the properties of this particular entity. But are we interested with all the properties or a specific type of a property? Guys, tell me, are we interested for
Specific.
all the properties or specific type of property? So what is that type? What is that CLR
Specific.
type we are interested for? So we are interested for the CLR data type, which is either decimal or nullable decimal. Clear or not? So this CLR type means it is going to give us the .NET data type. If the .NET data type is decimal or nullable decimal, then those properties are going to be retrieved by this statement what I have written. Clear this statement?
Yep.
So once I have, so here, right, it means what? So first of all, I'm fetching one entity. So it will be all the entities. One by one, this for loop will execute, and one by one, it is going to fetch the entity. For each entity, it is going to calculate how many decimal properties are there. And then again, in this case, this decimal properties might contain a zero property, might contain one, might contain two, any number of a property it can contain, right? As there is a chance that one entity can have multiple decimal properties. Again, I have to use a for each loop. And using this for each loop, I can access that particular property. And using this set precision and set scale method, I can set the precision and scale value. So once this statement is executed, then what exactly it is going to do? It is going to fetch all the entities. And again, for each entity, it is going to fetch all the decimal properties, whether it is a nullable type or a non-nullable type, all the decimal property it is going to return. And then for each decimal property, it is going to set the precision and the scale value. Is that clear or not?
Yep.
Guys, is that clear?
Yes.
Yes.
So what do we mean by precision and what do we mean by scale? Precision means total number of digits. Scale means after decimal, how many digits are accepted. That is what this. So if I'm setting 18 means maximum 18 digit, and after the decimal maximum 3 digit. Means before decimal maximum 15 digit, and after decimal maximum 3 digit. That is what it is going to accept. Clear, guys?
Yes.
Right. So this is how
Yep.
you can set the default precision globally. Clear or not? Guys, clear or not?
Yes, sir. Yeah, clear.
Next, what I need to do, I need to set the default string value of all the properties. The concept is going to be same. Let me open red clear here. Right? The
Sir.
concept is going to be same. So if
Sir,
I
I have
want to
one
set,
question.
yes, please.
Sir, suppose in the Fluent API, I did for the decimal type, I declared all the things here for the, but I want to create a model class and I have a property, decimal property. It will work there or only in Fluent API? Fluent API validation.
See what I'm doing here. So what I'm specifying here, it is going to be related to what? It is going to be on the
Fluent.
database.
Yes. Yes.
So if I'm setting 18,3 means what? It is going to create the database column with the size 18,3.
No, I understand that one, sir. So my question is, suppose here we are doing in the Fluent things, Fluent API. But my
Okay.
question is, suppose I created an order table in order table class. In the order table class, I have a property known as the quantity or like that.
Price, let's say price.
Yes, yes, price. My thing is, suppose I want to give the annotations for the precision and scale. Here, if I not declared any annotation for this precision and scale, it will fetch from the Fluent API. Fluent API will work for that condition or not?
Just tell me what you are talking about. Let me clarify. Suppose
Yes,
you are also you are specifying the same thing.
yes,
That is what you are talking, right?
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So already I have discussed this thing, right? Why you are asking, I don't know, right? So if I'm specifying here 18,2, then guys tell me which one will take precedence.
Fluent API.
Fluent API.
Fluent API.
So if both you are configuring using data annotation as well as using Fluent API, then this will take the priority,
Okay, okay, sir. I joined newly. That's it.
right? So already we have discussed if you are configuring the same thing using data annotation as well as using Fluent API, then Fluent API will take the priority. You might have one question, sir. If this is working for all the entities and for a specific entity, if I want to specify a specific data type and size, how I can do this? Yes, that is possible. For that purpose, what I need to do, either we need to go with the entity level configuration, otherwise we can go with the property level configuration. So that is what we are also going to discuss, right? So we can also, suppose this is applicable globally. Globally means all entities and all their properties. But for a specific property, I want a specific precision and scale. Then I can override that concept, right? So we can create a configuration for that specific entity specific property, and that will take priority, right? If I'm providing, right, say, you have to remember, if I'm providing both data annotation and Fluent API, then Fluent API will take priority. But if I'm configuring the same using a Fluent API global configuration, using Fluent API entity configuration, and using Fluent API property configuration, then in that scenario, property configuration will take the priority. Getting my point, guys?
Yes, sir.
Right? So we have not yet discussed how to do the same thing using entity and property. That's what we are also going to discuss today. Right? For now, right? If I'm specifying both, then right in that case, Fluent API will take the priority. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to do the same thing, right? Specifying the default string column size. So again, the concept is going to be same. What? First of all, you need to iterate all the properties, all the entities, one by one, fetch all the entities, and for each entity fetch all the properties. But at this time, the CLR type is going to be string, right? All the properties I have access, and then using these properties, right? Then what I can do is, okay, so another thing you can also put here, right? Suppose you want to also make sure that not only this one, right, but also the nullable type, then you can also put this question mark here. So, but here string is not taking, this is not working. Why? Because by default, this is a string type, so not required. If it is a value type, then you can put the question mark. Here you can see it is a value type. I am putting the question mark, so it is become a nullable type. But by default, string are nullable, right? So you do not need to put that by default, whether it is a nullable or non-nullable type, it will consider, right? So here it is fetching all the strings, and then one by one, I'm right, accessing the properties. And here, right here, what I'm taking, if I'm checking if the property match length equals to null, right? Then I'm setting the property size at 200, right? So basically, what I'm saying here, I'm just doing some super code, right? If already the property length is set, right, either using data annotation, right, then don't do anything. In that case, skip. And if you have not set using data annotation, then please set this max length to 200. If you don't want to check this thing, then what you can do is you can directly right, set this value here. But here, what it is going to do, it is, see, why I'm saying, because see, if you are configuring something using data annotation, and then definitely it is going to override this thing. But what is your requirement? No. If I have specified the right, the maximum length, if I set the data annotation max length and set the what should be the maximum length, then I don't want to do right, that global configuration here. Then this condition you need to check. If you don't want to respect right data annotation, Irrespective of data annotation, you want to set the maximum length, you can use this. Otherwise, if you want to respect data annotation, and right, if that is not configured using data annotation, then only configure the maximum length, then this condition you need to write. Clear?
Yes.
Clear, guys?
Okay, sir. Sir, if have multiple property, multiple fields, then we need to repeat the line number 39 to 49 for different columns, or we need to create different whole functions we need to write.
No, no. See, in this case, what will happen? So, in this case,
Yeah.
one entity will come here, and within
Yes,
that
yes.
entity, how many string properties are there? All the
Yes.
properties are done. So, in this case, you
Yes.
can say it is an IEnumerable. IEnumerable means it is a collection. Collection means here, one by one, we
Okay.
are accessing each property, and we are checking whether that property is already
Okay.
assigned with some length or not. If it not assigned with any length, means if this is null, then we are setting the length.
Okay.
Clear, guys?
Okay. Fine. Fine. Thank you.
Right. So, this is the things that what we can also do. So cascade delete behavior. So cascade delete behavior means again, right? What we need to do, we need to fetch all the foreign keys of all the entities, and then we need to set the cascade delete behavior. Let's see how we can do this. Suppose, right, what I'm going to do, having all the right. So cascade delete behavior means what? Where we need to apply this behavior? We need to apply this behavior on the foreign keys, right? Yes or no? Guys,
Yes,
we
sir.
need to
No.
apply this behavior on the foreign keys or not. So if you want to, if you are getting confusion here, so we can also, right, what I can do is, I can also simplify this logic. Entity types, right? So that is what you can also do. So what I'm doing here, first of all, I'm fetching all the entities, and then what I'm doing, I'm fetching all the foreign keys of this entity, and then I'm looking through all the foreign keys, and I'm setting the delete behavior. So here you can set cascade, you can set right no action, you can set sort, set null, you can set restrict, right? Whatever you want to do, you can do it. So in this case, whatever I have set here, so all the foreign keys which are going to be created in the database, all are going to be created with this default behavior, what I specified here. It will be applicable to all the entities. Later, if you want to override some of the specific foreign keys, that's what you can also do using entity configurations. But global configuration means it will be applicable to all. So in this case, whatever these four statements are doing, all these things I'm doing using a single statement. Clear? Clear or not? Is it clear? Am I
Okay,
audible,
sir.
guys?
Okay.
Why I'm not getting any response, right? I don't understand whether you are understanding the concept or it is bouncing, right? Because because as we know, Indian players are very poor in bouncing track, right? And tomorrow the visit is going to start. So how they will face, I don't know. But you should face this concept, right? You should understand this concept. You should not be in that kind of situation, right, where the concept are going to be in bounds. You should understand this concept. If you are not getting the concept, you can ask me again and again. I can explain. But don't go with the right, right. Don't think anything, right? Too difficult to understand this concept. So anytime, any question, you can ask me. Is this concept clear? How to configure, right? Cascade delete or right, any delete behavior globally?
Yeah.
So
Yes,
what
sir.
is select many, sir?
Yes, yes, please.
What is the entity type dot select many?
So
Line
this
number. Yeah.
this will
Yeah.
pattern the return type into one collection, right? For example, right? For example, if I'm having a string, suppose in this case, what I'm doing, so in this case, suppose I'm having a string called hello, right? If I'm having a string called hello, right? And if I'm using this right string dot select many, right? Then what exactly it is going to do, right? In this case, right? Let's see ch such that ch. So in this case, what exactly it is going to do? It is going to return this result. Right? So select. I'm getting this error. What is that syntax? I also forgot. What is that syntax, guys? I also forgot. So basically, what exactly it means? It means this is a string array. So each element it will be flattened. Means in this case, it is going to be a right. What I can say character array. So here H is one element, E is one element, L is one element, another L is one element, another O is going to be another element. So basically, right, it is right. Suppose you are having one string, then it will split that string into a collection of characters. Similarly, if you are having a collection kind of things, right, then it will flatten the data into one, right? For example, suppose you are creating one string array, right? Suppose in this case it is going to create one string array, right? Not this is not an array. So basically, and if you want to right, flatten in the sense what I can say, uh, combining right, splitting one output into multiple output. So for example, here hello, it is going to be okay. So let me give you this example string array. So in this case, what I'm doing, I'm putting this hello, right? I'm putting this right. What I can say, uh, world. So kind of this. So in this case, it is going to be a string array. So this string array, so here what I'm doing, ch such dot ph dot, right, is what I can say. This is not string. Wait a minute. I even forgot the syntax. What is the
Dot
use
two
of this?
upper. Can I write two upper? CH dot two upper.
Not this one.
I think
Yeah.
only CH.
See, in this case, you can say it is a I enumerable of a character. So in this case, this I enumerable of a character going to hold, right? How many elements? One is H, another one is E, another one is L, L, O. And here, right? So basically, the string is going to be split into character,
So
and
list
each
of a
character,
string, list of a string you can give.
yeah, that is also fine. List of string, right? So that is what. So in this case, right, all the foreign keys of all the entities are going to be created as an array. Getting my point? So in this case, this is one. Let's assume these are the foreign keys of one entity. Let's say one entity having two foreign key, another entity is having five foreign key. So total, how many foreign keys are there? So total, how many foreign keys are there? Seven
Seven.
foreign keys.
Seven.
So if I'm using this select many, then in this case, this RES is going to contain all the seven foreign keys. Right? So in this case, you can independently access H, you can independently access E, independently you can access each character right from this result. So that is what it is this select many method doing here. So here we are fetching all the entities, and this entities, right, from this entities we are fetching all the foreign keys, and all these foreign keys are going to be stored inside a collection, and that collection we are accessing here. Clear?
Okay, got it, sir.
Right? So that is what it is going to be for. So in this case, all the foreign keys are going to be stored one by one. We are accessing and setting the delete behavior. Next one is what we need to do. We need to set all the strings are going to be Unicode. Let's assume our application, right? Our application going to deal with only English character. There is no chance that any Unicode we are going to store. Then to set the space and to improve the performance, right? To reduce the size of the database, what we are going to do is we are going to set the database type as the string column as Harker instead of an Harker. So for that purpose, what I need to do, I need to look through all the entities, right? The concept is going to be same. Model builder dot entity dot get entity types. All the entities I'm accessing one by one. I'm selecting all the string properties, looping through all, right? I'm selecting all the string properties of each entity, and then I'm looping through each properties, and then I'm checking if use Unicode is not equals to false, then set this Unicode to false. So first of all, I'm checking if you already use Unicode is set to false, no need to set that again to false. If it is not set to false, then please go ahead and set this value to false. So once I set this is Unicode value to false, then what exactly it is going to do? It will set that string as a marker data type in the database. Clear?
Okay.
Right? This is what it is going to do. Now, automatically setting the timestamp columns value, right? For example, let me create this one. So I timestamp. Okay. So this is my I timestamp. You can see, not this one. So this is you can see I have created one I timestamp. So it is one interface having two properties, right? Then what I'm going to do, right? I'm going to check, right? So I'm going to check, right? Okay, let me. So this is one interface. Let assume this interface is used by this order item, or this is going to be used by this order entity, right? So it is going to be used by product, right? So all these three entities, they are using this I timestamp. That means what? That means these two properties are now available to all these entities. I mean, you have to provide implementation. So I'm providing the implementation here. I'm providing, right, the implementation here. I'm also providing the implementation here. Now, what is my requirement? My requirement is that, so whenever I'm going to create or update the entity in the database, I need to set the values for this timestamp properties. So created and updated, and how I can do this. So for this purpose, we can also make use of a global configuration. How we can do, let us try to observe. So in this case, you can see, right, uh, in this case, you can see what I'm doing here. Yeah. So first of all, I'm checking, right? First of all, I'm checking any entity type. So currently it is throwing some kind of a error. So, okay, I will come to this point. Okay, let us try to understand. See, let us try to understand the complete example. Then I will show you right how it is going to be worked practically. So let me delete this entity class altogether. So let me start from the beginning, and I will come to this I timestamp, right? How it is going to set the value, right? Practically. So first of all, let me create this I timestamp. So this is my interface, which is containing two properties, and let assume these are the two properties which I want to use, right? Almost all the entities, and I want to manage this value globally, right? Globally means automatically this value should be inserted, right? So next, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create my product entity. So this is going to my product entity. You can see product ID, name, price, created and updated art, right? Then what I'm going to do is, right, I'm going to create some order entity. So let me go ahead and order entity. So this is going to my order entity. You can see order ID, order date, created ad, updated ad, and order items. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to have my order items. See, these are the different entities you can see. So if you look at the order and order item entities, what should be the relationship? Relationship is one to many. I have provided these two properties because of this inheritance. Order items, you can see this is having this right a reference navigation property. So what should be the relationship between order and order item? So it is going to be one to many. One order can have multiple items, and each order items can belongs to a single order. Now, what should be the relationship between product and order item? See, in the product entity, you can see this is the class, and if you look at this order item entity, so it is also creating a what I can say foreign key, which is pointing to the product entity. And this is the interface which is consumed, or you can say all these three classes, they have inherited from this interface, right? So this is what I have done so far. Now, what I need to do is, right, I need to configure the settings, right? So let us try to understand whatever configuration we have discussed, right? Let us try to implement this thing practically. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to modify the context object. Right? So here you can see. So first of all, what exactly this statement, guys? Now you just tell me whatever I have explained, you have to now tell me, and whatever I have not yet explained, I will tell. So once this statement, so what exactly this statement is going to do in the database?
Check the schema is a DB
So
schema.
check the schema means it is going to create
Miss-
all the database table with the
By
schema.
admin.
Admin. Fine. So what this, right, whatever configuration I have provided here, what they are actually going to do?
Firstly, it is doing set the decimal property for all entities.
So it is
If
going to set the decimal value to 18,3
18
for
and
all the decimal properties of all the entities. Clear?
then yeah. Yes.
Yes. Is that clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So what is this configuration is doing?
And
The string property
string property, if a string property is null, then set max length is 200.
So not the string property is null. So if any data
Any
maximum length data annotation attribute
is-
is not yet applied, then only it is going to set the max length to 200. And this is for
Okay.
all the string properties of all entities. Clear?
entities.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
What is this configuration is doing?
This is that
And-
it is.
So basically it is setting the right is Unicode false. If Unicode to false means what is this is a non-Unicode. Non-Unicode means for all the string data type, it is going to set the data type as
where
null.
can?
Clear?
Yes.
Right. Now, so till now we have discussed this thing, right? So how to set the default schema, how to set the right precision and decimal, how to set the right maximum size, how we can set the Unicode character. Now, next, what I'm doing here, you can please observe this. This thing I have not yet explained because at a time I'm getting some right issue. So now you can see. So this statement is clear what exactly this line number 60 is doing.
Yes.
Getting all the entities.
Fetching all the entities.
So it is going to fetch all the entities from the database. Now, so once it fetches all the entities from the database, this line number 71, what exactly it is going to do? It is checking whether this entity type, what we are
The
accessing, is this
timestamp.
inherited from the ice timestamp entity or not? So if you look at this
Yes.
entity type means it is going to check one by one. One is the product entity. Why? Because these are registered here, product, orders, and order items. These are the three entities, right? Now it is going to check. So first let assume product entity. Then this line number 71 is going to check, is this product entity is inherited, right, from this timestamp entity? Is product entity inherited from timestamp entity?
Yes.
Yes, if it is inherited, then what I need to do, I need to set the created and modified, right? The created at and modified, updated at values. How I'm doing this? Let's observe. So in this case, right, model builder that entity type. So CLR type. So whatever the entity you can consider here, that entity we can access using entity type dot CLR type. So earlier, what I have discussed, model builder that entity. So the entity method, what I need to pass? I need to pass the entity, whether it is a product entity or whether it is a order entity, that entity I need to pass. So currently I'm not, I cannot hard code the entity. So without hard coding the entity, how I can access? Now I can access the entity type dot CLR type. So this will give you the entity type. So fully qualified name. Qualified name means including the namespace. So within this entity, what exactly it is going to do? It is going to set the created at column, right? It is going to configure the created at column value, and that value is going to be nothing but some get UTC date
Default
SQL
current
server.
date.
and this function value is going to be executed, or you can say it is going to be set when we are generating the insert statement.
Insert
Value
entity.
generated on add means whenever we are generating the insert statement,
Insert
at that
command.
time the created at column will be populated with this value. Clear?
Yes.
Now, the same thing I'm doing here, but instead of value generated on add, what I have specified here, value generated on add or update. That
Update.
means every time you insert a new record or you update an existing record, this column value is going to be automatically updated with the this SQL Server function. Clear, guys? So value generate add, value generate on add means it is specific to insert statement. Add or update means it is both for insert as well as update statement. Clear or not?
Yes, sir.
So this is how we can specify, right, the values for the auditing column globally. So now I'm not specifying which entity. Rather than this, right, globally it is going to check if your entity is inherited from this timestamp entity means what? It is mandatory that the entity going to contain this thing, right? Now, let's try to write a comment this one and see what happens. So once I comment this one, am I getting any compilation error? Yes. Why? Because this interface having some property and this property needs to be implemented in the child classes. That means what? That means it ensure, right, if your entity CLR type dot entity, so if your entity is inherited from this I timestamp entity means these two properties are 100% there. So these two properties values I am setting how these properties are going to be inserted and updated at the database level. Clear? Yes or no?
Yes,
Yes,
Guys,
sir. But
see, yes,
sir,
yes,
in
please.
I stamp class, there may be a single property, no? It may
There are
be
two
single property. No, there is two
sorry,
property, okay, but there may be a single property.
here.
Yes.
So which property you want to keep? You just tell me.
No, only I want to put only created at, not I want to use updated at.
Yes, so you
So
can
Then you must
this
make
one.
two interface.
You have to comment this one.
okay, yes, okay. That's why it
So,
is showing error. Okay.
no, not. I'm not getting any error. So because it is not specific to any type. So once I
Okay.
comment here, right? So that is what you can say. If I comment this, there is no compilation error. So here we are not
Okay.
providing any red value. So this
Updated.
is we are configuring within hard-coded, right? So we are assuming the
Okay.
entity is having this and this column, right?
Okay.
And right, and how you can make sure because of this one. So if you are
Okay.
commenting this, then you have to comment this one.
Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, he has to make two interface, I think. Update
This is
and
the interface, na. So this is one interface I have created means all the entities which are right inheriting from this interface, they have to provide implementation for this two property. So that is the reason why I'm using both this property here. Clear?
yeah. Yeah.
Sir, interface is a keyword or any? Actually, I have no idea about the interface. So
So are you a student?
no, sir.
Are you a working professional?
Yes, sir. But I did not use more.
No, I'm not talking. So you have the some basic knowledge of C sharp or not?
No, yeah, I have basic knowledge of C sharp, but not
I'm doubting because right.
much.
So if you
Yes.
are talking, and if you are asking, sir, what is interface, then right, what I can answer at this point of time.
Okay, no issue. Okay.
No, see,
You can watch it up in the video. There's object
Okay,
oriented
fine.
under the object.
not the C sharp videos. The point what is required, right? So from the right demo session itself, also I'm saying for ASP.NET Core prerequisite is C sharp. Right,
Okay.
prerequisite is C sharp, right? So you right, if you are going to write the code, then definitely right, it is mandatory that you should know C sharp. And the interface means what I can say, it is the basic, right? Oops concept is there. So you know what to mean by inheritance, polymorphism, encapsulation,
Out of C
abstraction,
sharp.
Parallel. So what I can say, partial classes, sealed classes. Are you aware about all this term or not? I'm asking you.
Yes, sir. Little bit, sir.
See, what I'm always saying, little knowledge is always dangerous.
It's
So whatever,
dangerous.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay.
little knowledge is always dangerous, to be frankly saying, right? So that is the reason why I have already given access to my CSAP sessions. Why not you watch those sessions,
The best C sharp video is a great video. Yeah.
right? This concept I have explained in detail, right?
Okay, sir.
And right,
Okay.
so just go ahead and learn. So for now you can consider what is an interface means a class without implementation.
Okay.
What is a class? Class means a class with
Class time.
implementation. Interface means a class without implementations. Then who is going to provide implementation? Whoever the class going to inherit from that interface. So in this case, I cannot provide implementation. So the implementation is going to be provided by the child classes. Child classes means the class
Okay.
which is going to inherit from this one. Now, this product class inherited from here. Order class inherited from here. Order item that is inherited from here. So they are providing
Okay.
implementation. So this is
Okay.
property. So this is not only related to property. You can define method, right? You can define, right, anything. Everything is possible there, right? So that is what you need to understand. And whenever you are declaring interface, right? So you can see I'm not declaring any right data type.
Okay.
Right? So why I'm saying not declaring any data type? Because by default they are
Always
going to be
public.
by default,
Public.
the data type is going to be public. That is the reason why I'm not declaring. And always, right, whenever you are creating any interface, right, please make sure it is going to be public so that, right, it will be accessible to the child classes, right? So there are many things is there, right? Just go ahead and right, learn those
Okay.
concepts because on
Fine.
the right, so currently we have not started ASP.NET Core. Once you start the ASP.NET Core, you will face the problem. So currently, whatever I'm discussing, you can consider this is part of the C sharp. No, this is not part of ASP.NET Core. Once I start ASP.NET Core, even from the from tomorrow only, I'm going to start asynchronous programming. I'm going to use what is async, how to use async, how to use await keyword, what to mean by task, what to mean by task of T, right? So all these things we are going to use very frequently, and almost all the sessions are going to use asynchronous programming. But if you are not aware about asynchronous programming, right, so this is going to be very difficult for you to, right, to capture the concept, right? So asynchronous programming doesn't mean that I will mark the method as a task, right, async and a task of T, and I will call the method using await. That is the syntax. Knowing syntax is not a big deal. What is big deal? Big deal is what is why and when to use asynchronous programming. What benefit I'm getting using asynchronous programming? How I can decide whether I need to go with asynchronous programming or not. The decision making capability is important.
Yeah,
Syntax
yeah, yeah. That's
anyone can write. But deciding whether I should go with asynchronous programming or whether I need to go with synchronous programming, whether I need to implement parallel programming is important. And that what an architecture and situations like this, right? Experienced developer will come into the picture, right? So
Okay.
that is what. Clear, guys, this thing?
yeah, yeah.
Anyone having any question, guys?
No, sir.
Okay.
Plus, thank
Now
you.
Now this is my delete behavior. So what I'm doing here, I'm setting right all the foreign keys and their behavior as a on delete restrict. So instead of restrict, you can also set what? You can set also cascade. You can also set null, right? Any delete behavior you want to set, that what you can set. And we have already discussed what are these. So set null, set right null, cascade, restrict, right? Any one you can set. This is going to be right affected in the right what I can say in the database. So restrict means what? It will not allow you to delete the principal entity if it is referenced by some child entities. If I'm setting cascade, what exactly it means? If I'm setting cascade, what exactly it means? It means if I delete the principal entity, the related child entities are also going to be deleted automatically. If I set null, right, then what will happen? In this case, if I will delete the parent entity, right, the child entity is going to be set with a null value. That foreign key is going to be set with null value. But the terms and condition is that, right? In that case, that foreign key should accept null value, otherwise you will get some right a constant violation error. And then last one is no action. No action means this is the default action. Default action means what is the default behavior? Default behavior is that whenever the parent entity is deleted, right? What exactly going to happen with the child entity, that what you cannot predict, right? So what is the default convention you specified in the database, that means if you want that parent child entity is going to be deleted, or right, it is going to restrict that what it is going to. So no action means by default it is going to restrict, right? So it will not allow you to delete the, right, what I can say, parent entity. So these are the default convention that what you need to do. So let's go with the cascade option, right? Or you can go with the restrict option, right? Anything is fine. So as per your requirement, you can go. So with these changes, now if I generate the, right, okay, let me delete this migration folder. Let me refresh the database. Let me delete this one. Okay. And let me generate the migration file to see whether these changes are applicable or not. Let's see. One thing I need to tell you this thing, right? Tell you is, right? So this complex configuration, what I'm discussing, you might not be seeing, right, in your existing project, right? Because people are not aware about such things. If you are working with any existing project, if any experienced developer, right, they have written the code, then you might find this kind of settings, right? Otherwise, most of the time, right, a developer are fine with the default code, right, whatever the default convention, and they are fine. They are not think too much about the performance, right, managing the database in a proper manner. They are not thinking too much, right? They just need to, their main objective is to perform the database CRUD operation, not managing the database. Now,
Yes,
if
sir.
you look at
Yes.
That
this,
is true. That is
right? So now if you look at this table, right, apart from this migration history, which is not part of our entities, right, you can see all these entities are created with the admin schema or not.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. Now let us try to observe, right, whatever we have said, whether it is working fine or not. So second thing, what I'm setting the precision and right scale and precision 18,3. Now let us see whether this is applicable to all the properties or not. Price 18,3, order column, so there is no price. Order item, so unit price 18,3. That means
Yes.
this global
Yes.
configuration is working for the
Yeah.
scale and precision. So
Yes,
now
sir.
the
It's
next
working.
one is we have set the string properties to 200. Now any string properties you can see. So ID name, order, ID quantity. So there is no string properties in the order table. There is no string properties, and in the product table. So name is there. Is this set to 200?
Yes. And
That
where
means
can
this
where
this is also working, right? Now, if you see the in the right, we are setting the right is Unicode false. Is Unicode false means it is a non-Unicode. Non-Unicode means the data type
where
must
can
be marker.
where
Is the
can
data type marker?
yes, name.
Right, that's fine. Now if you see this thing, right, so created and updated at, so they will come into the picture whenever we are going to insert some data, right? So because right, they will come into that picture. But here you can see they are created as column, right? All the entities are having this column, and automatically this column value is going to be inserted and updated. Clear? Now, what delete behavior we have provided restrict. Okay, let me go ahead and check the foreign keys. So in this case, this is going to be my table, and let me go ahead and check the foreign key constants. Right. See, in this case, what happened now, whenever I'm saying restrict means by default it is going to be restrict. So in this case, you can see they have not done anything special, right, for the foreign keys. Restrict means they are not going to allow the deletion. If you want to see, right, that right foreign key behavior, restrict means you can consider this is similar to your default behavior, that is no action. And right, so now if you want to see the actual behavior, set this value to Cascade and generate the migration file once more. Okay, let me go ahead and refresh this one. Now, so this is my order item. Let me go ahead and open this time. So now it is setting the on-delete Cascade or not?
Yes.
Right?
Yes, it
Restrict.
is.
The restrict
Yeah.
means by default that is restrict. So no need to do or define anything. Whenever there is something else, right, like this one on delete Cascade, right? So you can see this is going to be applicable. Right? So that is what you can see. We have set global and it is applicable to all the right foreign keys what we have created in our application. Right. So that's fine. Now let us do a small test and see whether it is working as expected or not. Right. So what I'm going to do, modifying the program class. So very simple code I have written. I have added few products and calling the set changes method. And then I'm fetching the laptop and the smartphone and using these two products, I have created one order and I have also created another order. And then I'm calling this set changes method. And here you can see while I'm creating, right, you can see while I'm creating the product entity, whether I'm creating the order and order item, I have not specified the created and the updated at column, right? And then I'm calling the set changes method. Then I'm fetching the data. I'm fetching the orders. While I'm fetching the orders, I'm eagerly loading the order items. For each order item, I'm also going to include the related product. So why I'm using then include method here, guys?
Eager loading.
Eager loading.
No, eager loading is fine. Then why I'm using include here? But again, why I'm using then include here?
Because we have two relations include.
Right? So basically, this order items, it is a directly related entity of orders. So whenever there is some direct related entity, I have to use order items. Indirect related entity means I have to use then include method. Clear? So in this case, this order doesn't have any direct relationship with the product. This product is related to order items. Order item is related to product. You can say this is the this is the what I can say grandfather. This is the father and this is the child. Child is related to father, but right this grandfather, but via this father. So that is the reason why it as this is direct relationship. You can use the include method. Whenever there is some indirect relationship, you have to use then include method. Then we are displaying the order data, right? The order date and time, order items, name, all these things, right? So now let us run the application and see whether the data is being inserted as expected or not. So we are getting the data as expected. Now, what is important? We understand everything, but now what we need to do? We need to check the right these two column. This two column is inserted with some data or not. If you check the orders table, also they are going to be have some created and updated and column value. Clear?
Answerable to Bharat. When he is asked,
Clear, guys?
he must clear, sir. Sir, can I ask one doubt in the entity framework? Hello.
Okay. I think someone else is on mute because that voice is coming. Okay, you can ask me now.
Sir, here in this price column, we are returning this as an integer value.
Sorry, which column you are talking about? Let me mute everyone. Okay, okay. So now whoever have doubt, right, they can ask. So what background noise is coming from? Where it is coming? Hari Krishna, is the background coming from your side?
Sir, now I am audible.
Yeah, you are audible.
Sir, what's my doubt is, sir, in the price column, we are declaring the values in int. So through this entity framework core, can we change the int value to string without deleting the data inside that column?
First of all, you just tell me why you are going to change integer to string.
No, sir, I got an what I can say, I got an interview question like this.
That
That's
is
why.
what I'm talking now. Why you are going to change, right? So just to try to do this, right? So with what I'm doing here, that price column is there, right? So this price column. Okay, let's put this as a string column. That is what you are talking, right? So if you are
Yes.
doing this, what you need to do, you have to set this as a string value. Okay. Okay, let me add these two things. Okay, okay, I don't want to add anything, right? You want to make sure that this is working or not, right? Okay. So again, right? So in this case, right, it's very difficult for me to manage, right? Why? Because this is already used as a foreign key and all these things, right? I don't, I want to use many places. So instead of this, what I can tell you is just do it,
Okay.
right? So just change the data type and run the migration and see whether it is working fine or not. Because, right, in this
Sir,
case,
I am tried that thing after that interview. When I'm trying it, it is got some error there. So cannot explicitly convert like that error I got.
yeah, that is what I'm talking now. So if you are talking storing some string value, and if you are converting that to I mean decimal to string, how that conversion is going to be happening? So it means string. So in this case, suppose I'm storing some value 1200.356. How in string, how it is going to be managed? Are you getting my point? If I'm storing some value, okay, so now you just tell me. If I'm storing this value, so 120456. So in string, what value I need to store?
Uh, what's the string the same value? We have to store in a string data.
That is possible. That is possible. So basically, you want to store the same decimal and everything, but instead of right what decimal, you want to store this as a string, right? That is possible. How you can do
So
this? Right? You just try it. Otherwise, right, I will give you the solution. It is possible. What I'm saying, it is possible. How? You just try it one more time, right? Give some time and do some research, and it is possible. That what I'm saying.
okay,
Clear?
okay.
Clear, guys? This model-wide configurations. Next, what I'm going to discuss is right entity-wide configuration, right? So entity-wide configuration means what, right? It is specific to an entity, right? For example, right, I'm having one entity and I want to configure the entities, right? Then for that purpose, I need to use entity-wide configurations, right? Unlike the model-wide configuration, which is applicable for all the entities, entity-wide configuration means specific to an entity. So using entity-wide configuration, what are the things we can do? Let's observe. We can specify the table name as well as the database schema. For example, one entity is there, right? And that entity name you want, right? One entity is there, and for that entity you want to give a different table name. Is that possible? Yes, possible. For example, by default, all the entities are created with the admin schema. But I want a specific entity to be created with a different schema. Is that possible? Yes, that is possible. How? For that purpose, right, we need to configure the table name and schema, right, for that particular entity. So using entity level configuration, we can define the primary key. We can define the composite primary key. We can define the indexes, right? We can define the, right, not only indexes, right? You can also define filter index. You can define, right, composite index. You can define the covering query index, right? So guys, okay, so do you guys know something related to what do you mean by index? What do you mean by, right, what I can say, composite index? What do you mean by filtered index? And what do you mean by include index? You guys have any idea or not?
No.
See,
No,
if
sir,
you,
no idea.
right, if you guys are saying no, what exactly it means, uh, your SQL knowledge is not up to that level. To be frankly speaking, right? So SQL, right? But guys, remember, if you are developing any application, right? For example, I can explain this concept, right, using entity framework. But in scenario where you are working with the existing project, where you are using ADO.NET, right? Then in situations like this, if you want to improve the performance, right, from the database side, from application side, you can write the code. But if the performance is related to database side, if the performance is related to the select operation, right, then one of the best solution is indexes. So you should know all these things. What do you mean by index? What do you mean by composite index? What do you mean by filtered index? And what do you mean by include index? Sometimes it is also called as covering query. You guys know this term, covering query?
No
Yes,
idea.
sir. Right. No idea.
Only
Very
index,
good.
no, nothing.
See, index is one of the important concept, right? Index, don't think that the index means the primary key is going to create the cluster index, foreign key is going to create a non-clustered index. This is not index. This is the type of index, right? But indexes, the appropriate use of index is very, very important. And some of the basic information I'm also going to provide in this session, right? So we can create indexes, we can manage the relationship, and I hope I'm not going to discuss anything related to relationship. In my previous, right, in our yesterday sessions, right, I think I have already discussed one to one, one to many, and many to many. We can also state the cascade delete behavior specific to entity. We can also ignore entities, means for example, whatever the not mapped attribute is right to for right ignoring the entity while creating the database table. We can also do the same thing using right Fluent API. We can also create an alternative key. Alternative key means what? You can say this is unique constant, right? So unique constant we can also create, which is going to store unique value, right? For example, primary key is going to contain some unique values. Apart from the primary key, if you want to create other columns, which suppose and which is going to also contain the unique values like username, like email, then in that case, right, we need to apply unique constant for that column. And guys, remember, unique index and unique constant are two different things. They are not same. And also, we are going to discuss, right, covering one entities. What is one entities? We are going to discuss, right? So whatever I have provided here, all these things, let us try to understand. So first of all, right, first of all, this is entity configuration means. First of all, you need to specify which entity you are going to configure. For example, if I want to specify the table name and schema, then what I need to do, I need to use model builder.entity. I need to specify which entity I need to configure. And then I need to use two table method. And to this method, I need to specify what should be the table name in the database and the schema, what I want to apply for this table. So in this case, the schema admin and this table name is specific to this customer entity. It is not specific to other entities. For other entities, you need to do the same thing again. So this is entity configuration for table name and database schema. So in this case, for this customer entity, it is going to create a table name TBL customer with the schema admin in the database. Clear? Clear?
Yes, sir.
Right? So in this case, what you can do, you can create some of the table with admin schema, some of the table with default DBO schema, some of the table with the cell schema. So now it is up to you which table you want to create with which schema. So that what you can explicitly define, right, using this table name and schema concept, right? So configuring primary key, right? We know how to define the primary key by using the key attribute, key data annotation attribute. Default conventionally is also there, which is going to be ID or entity name plus ID. But again, the same thing you can also achieve using this model builder. So model builder that entity, whichever entity, that entity you need to specify, and hash key method. Using this hash key method, you need to specify which key is going to be the primary key, right? Which right key is going to be the primary key from this entity. And any entity, right, for this customer entity, in this statement, what exactly it is going to do? It is going to create customer ID as the primary key for the customer entity. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Right? So
Yeah.
this is for configuring the primary key, you have to use the hash key method. For configuring the table name and schema, you have to use the two table method, right? and name composite primary key. So in the case of a composite primary key, the same concept, same hash key method I need to use, but instead of specifying this using lambda expression directly, I need to create one anonymous object, right? So how you can do this? So this is going to be anonymous object, object without any name, and here I can specify whichever properties are going to be part of my composite primary key. So here anonymous object, right? I need to create one anonymous object, and to this object, right, I need to specify whichever properties you want to be the part of your composite primary key. Clear? So this is one anonymous object, new operator. I have not specified any class name, means it is going to be an anonymous object. Clear or not?
Yes.
Any question, guys? How to create composite primary key?
Sorry.
Go
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
The difference between anonymous object and object initializer.
Here you do not need to specify any object, right? Whichever object is not required. So here what is important? Important is you need to specify whichever properties are going to be the part of, right, what I can say, of your right, your database. So whatever the table name, that is going to be specified using order item. So if you want to specify any named object, right, then what object you need to specify? Then in that case, what you need to do, you need to create one object, or you can say class. That class is having this order ID and the product ID properties. That class you need to specify. Why I'm going to do all this thing for the one-time activity? So I can go directly without specifying this anonymous object, right? So you know what to mean by anonymous object. For example, okay, let me show you this example. Right. Suppose I'm creating one named object. Suppose I'm having this class example. And let's assume this class example having some properties called right, ID, public, integer, ID, and this is name. And these are the two properties I need. Let's assume this is my one-time use. I want to use this only one time for creating one object, right? So in this case, what I need to do, example, new example, and here I need to specify what will be the ID value and what will be the name value. That what I can specify. Right, so that is fine. And finally, right, I need to convert this into one JSON object, and this JSON object I need to return to the client. Let's assume. So now if this is one-time activity, then why I'm going to create an object? I can directly use something like this. That is also possible. So in this case, the same ID is there, same name is there, but this is going to be an anonymous object. Now here, whatever property you want to keep, you can provide, right? For example, I want to provide something called a description. So that is possible. You can provide here, no issue.
I know, but what I mean is, it's like object initializer.
So in this case, what is this? This is object initializer only. You are initializing the object while creating the object. So if while creating the object, if you are providing a pair of curly braces and initializing the properties of that object, this is nothing but your object initializer.
Yeah,
So
that's what
now
I meant. Yeah.
right? So now I don't want to create the object and access the properties and set the values explicitly. Not required. While I'm creating, I'm initializing this object properties. This is an initializer, and that is what I'm doing here. Right? So in this case, right, where we are. So in this case also, I'm doing the same thing. While I'm creating the object, I'm initializing that object properties.
Yeah, that's what I meant. I was just wondering the difference between object initializer and anonymous object.
So there is no
They are the
relation
same.
between the anonymous object. Why you are thinking that object initializer is different than anonymous object? So initializer is different.
That's what
That
I'm asking.
initializer is related to, right, for example, in this case, right, this is anonymous object, and let me remove this property. And in this case also, right, if I'm providing here, this is also going to do the same thing, right? So this is going to be do the same thing, right? So in this case, right, what I'm doing here, in this case, this is anonymous object initializer. And this is a named object initializer. Is there any difference? Initializer means we are initializing the properties. Doesn't matter whether it is a named object or it is an anonymous object. Initializer means initializing the properties while creating the instance. Doesn't matter whether this is a named object where you are specifying the name or whether it is an anonymous object where you are not specifying the name. So what is the difference? Difference is for named object, you have to create the class and whatever the properties of this class, you can only initialize those things. What with the anonymous object, right, you do not need to provide the class name. Whatever properties you want, you can specify. For example, here I can say specify employee ID. No issue. I'm not going to get any error. But can I specify employee ID here? No, I can't specify.
No.
Clear?
Yeah, clear. Thanks. Thanks.
Let me remove this thing. Okay. So if you are creating a composite object, you need to create an anonymous object and you need to specify whichever properties are going to be part of your composite object, something like this. Clear? Again, same hash key method you need to use, which you are using for creating primary key. For simple primary key, you can specify the property. I mean, if the primary key is created based on a single column, if it is created on multiple column, you have to create an anonymous object. Clear, guys?
Yep.
Now configuring the indexes. Now, guys, remember for configuring the indexes, right? You have to use a hash index method. And if you want to create a unique index, you have to use this unique method. If you want to create a non-unique index, you can pass the value as false. So if I pass this value as false, it is going to be non-unique. If I'm not passing anything, then by default it is going to be a unique index. So to create a index, I have to use the hash index. So in this case, what exactly it is going to do on the customer entity, it is going to write on this right on this customer table on this email column. It is going to create a unique index in the database. Clear? Clear or not?
Yep.
So this is very simple, right? But this is simple index, right? You should not have any confusion or any right query, right? So it's simple. This is my entity, and on this property, it is going to create an index, and that index is going to be of type unique. If you want to create a non-unique, you have to pass the value false. Clear?
Yep.
Yes. Is that clear or any question?
Okay.
So index, normal index means based on a single column. This concept is clear based on a single column. Clear or not?
Yes.
Right. So composite index means based on
For improving this SQL, like the fundamentals, can you suggest any like anything, any site or?
so why you are going for any other site? My site is I think best one. So go to my website. SQL server
You're
is there.
right. It's true.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah, it's
Right?
right.
Just go and learn all this concept, right? SQL server clauses, right? SQL server operators, join, indexes, right? Indexes means you can see right here everything I have explained in detail. What is B tree, how the data is sorted in, what is table scan, what is right index scan, right? How the things are going to be handled, right? Everything I have explained here. All right, how you can check whether it is using table scan or whether it is using query scan, how many right scans are happening in the case of a table scan, in the case of a right query scan, on which column I need to create indexes, right? How indexes impact the right DML operations, right? Everything is explained here. So what do you mean by clustered index? What do you mean by root node, intermediate node? Actual data is going to be stored in the leaf node, right? All these things I have explained how the searching is happening in the case of right non-clustered index. What do you mean by index seek, right? What is a row lookup ID? How it is looking right from right my index table and how it is going to make cluster index and paste the data, right? So this is the things, right? What you need to understand, right? What is happening behind the scene, right? Don't think that index means it is going to improve my right query performance, right? That's fine. But what is happening behind the scene? That is what we need to understand. Clear?
You
Yep.
are not getting any what is that advertisement in this one, like, but when we are opening, we are getting lot of ads
Yeah, so you will get the advertisement. I will not get the advertisement because I
because
am
you
the
are
owner of
owner,
this
right?
website.
Mm.
I'm logging as an admin. And as
Okay.
an admin, it will not show me any ad. But you are logging as a user, so you will get ad. And for example, if I open this on my, right, what I can say, incognito mode, then it will show me advertisement. And from this advertisement only, I'm getting earning, right? I'm making all this, right, things are free. If you go to this one, right, every content, whatever I have provided, it is free of cost.
Correct, correct.
Right? And right, I'm paying monthly 20,000 for my server cost, right? And the maintenance, website maintenance is there. I'm spending right thousands of hours for preparing this document. So for that purpose, right, I'm showing the ad. I'm not taking a single rupees, right, from anyone, right, for this one. Right. So if I want, right, then also I can make right this only visible to the people who are going to pay me. But that is what I'm not doing. Making this completely free. You have to be aware about right sometimes related to the art. Otherwise, you can also install ad blocker on your system, which is going to block the art.
Yeah, that's nice. You're very generous, actually. You're very generous. Thanks.
So basically, so index means normal index means it is based on a single column. Composite index means it is based on multiple columns, right? So now let us try to understand. For example, I want to see there are two columns, let us say first name and last name, and based on this two column, I want to create an index. Then in that case, right, what I can do is I can make use a right, I can make use of right composite index, something like similar to the primary composite primary key, where you are using the anonymous object and specifying the properties which are going to be part of your composite primary key. Similarly to this hash index method, now you can also create an anonymous object and specify right whatever the properties right, or you can say whatever the columns you want to be created as part of this composite index. Right, and this composite index means it is going to create an index table using these two columns data, and with if you are filtering the data by first name and last name, right, it is going to sort right, it is going to access the data. First of all, it will sort the data based on the last name, and then it is going to sort the data based on the first name, right? And if you want to provide a different name, by default they are going to give some kind of a default name. Otherwise, if you want, you can give a unique name, or you can say your custom name. And for that purpose, right, what you need to do, you need to use this Hajj database name. For example, I want to give a different name. I can use Hajj database name, and I can specify what should be the index name in this particular scenario. Clear?
Yes.
Right. So next one is filtered index. Filtered index means index with where clause. Index with where clause. For example, what is my requirement? My requirement, suppose I'm creating one email. It's this email column I'm creating, and this email column can accept null values, right? So basically, this email column can accept null value. And there are many users are there. Now, my requirement is that whenever I'm going to apply this filter, please filter out all the emails which are having null value. So please don't consider the record which contain email as null in the right. I mean in the result set. So for that purpose, what I can do is I can create one index on this email which is going to sort the data either in ascending or descending order. But at that time, it is also going to filter the data. Filter the data means if the email is not available, that will not be part of my index table. That means while creating the index, I can also apply some kind of a conditional statement. And based on the condition, the index is going to be created. Let us see how we can do this, right? For example, in this case, you can see this is my index. And here I'm creating the index on the email column, but here I'm filtering that email is not null. If the email is not null, then only consider the data as part of my index table. Clear or not? Means, guys, remember, apart from the clustered index, non-clustered index means what? They are going to be created as separate table. Is that clear or not? Are you aware about this concept or not? Indexes, if it is a cluster index, that is going to reorder the data in the actual table where the data is stored. But whenever we are creating non-clustered index, and guys, remember,
pointing
when we
that.
are creating non-clustered index, that means that index table is going to be created separately, and that is going to be different from our actual table. And that index table is going to created, right, going to contain the column data, right, based on which the index is created. If I'm creating on a single column, this column data it is going to store in the index table, either in the ascending or descending order. If I'm creating based on multiple column, then first it will sort the data based on the first column, then it is going to sort the data based on the second column, right? And again, if I'm applying this filter condition, right, then it is going to store only the data in the index table where email is not null. If email is not, then that is not going to be part of my index table. Even when I'm going to apply the filter condition, that will not come as a, right, what I can say, that will not be, right, to come as part of my result set. Clear? Yes or no? So you can see, so now I don't need to apply this email is not null in the where clause condition. Directly, it is going to return the data. Clear? So in this case, that email, that index table size is going to be reduced. Reduced means if some email is not there, that null value it is not going to store, right? So the next one is, right, include index. Include index, let me assume I'm writing some column, right? I'm doing something like select first name, last name, and email, right, from whatever your table name, let's say employees, where email, right, equals to some particular email ID I have specified, that is some info at the rate example.com, something like this. Now in this case, my employees table is there, which is containing many columns like ID, like this first name, last name, email, right, like gender, like department, something like this. Department, something like this. Now in this case, my select clause containing three columns, and out of these columns, right, I'm going to return the data based on these three columns. And in this case, I'm applying the email ID on the where clause condition. In situations like this, what I can do is, while I'm creating the index on the email column, I can also store the related first name and last name in the index table. So this first name and last name are not part of my composite index. My index is going to be created on the email column, but based on this email column, the data is going to be sorted. But for that particular email, whatever the first name and last name, that column values are also going to be stored in the index table. How? Now for that purpose, what I can do is I can make use of this include properties option. So here index is going to be created on the email column. But along with this index, this email column means what? It is going to reorder the data based on the ascending or descending order of the email property values or email column values. The index table is going to be created, but at the same time, the corresponding first name and last name also going to be stored in the index table. So in this case, right, what will happen? Now, if I'm only fetching the related properties, right, first name and last name, email, and already email index containing the corresponding last name and last name. So in this case, this select statement going to retrieve the data directly from the index table, and it will not go to our actual database table. So in this case, drastically it is going to improve your application performance. Clear? Clear or not?
But sir, in this case, sir, our data size will increase now because we are saving separately first name, last name.
Where the data size is going to be increased?
You told us, sir, with email, first name and last name will store in separate column.
Yes. So
So we already have column name, first name, last name in table, and again we are storing in index. So our data size.
This is my actual table.
Yes.
And this is my right index table. So there are two things: actual table, another one index table. So in the index table, it is going to be stored this email based on this email address, right? It is going to sort the data, and the corresponding first name, last name it is going to store. Definitely, And guys, remember, whenever you are creating index means it is going to take additional space in the database because they are separate table. Separate table means they definitely going to take small space. So, right, so if space is not an issue, you can go ahead. Otherwise, right, you can access the data from the actual table.
So
Clear?
one
So
question, sir, can we see the index tables in SQL Server or
that
not?
is that what I can show you, right? Practically, I can show you the index table, right? But because they are not physical table, so whatever the physical table, that what I can show you, but not the index table. Right? So again, if you want to see, right, where exactly this is created, so this is some kind of a DBA related things, right? So and then database, right, those working on DBA concept, right? And even, right, suppose whenever I'm going to discuss SQL Server DBA, at that time I can explain this concept, not right in our ASP.NET core systems, right? But now what is required, what I'm explaining, right? I'm not going to explain, right, SQL Server DBA concept, right, in detail and in depth in
When
my
is it starting? When is it going to
but
start? DBA, SQL. When?
SQL Server DBA, I'm going to start in the morning. But once my current ASP.NET Core batch completed.
Okay, okay, thanks.
Right, so morning I'm taking one ASP.NET Core batch. Currently I'm discussing identity concept. Right, once that a batch completed, I will start SQL Server with DBA. Right, at that time, definitely, right, whatever happening behind the scene, right, the way I'm explaining ASP.NET Core concept in the same manner only I'm going to discuss the concept. Clear, guys?
Nice. Okay, thanks.
Similarly, you can also configure the, right, what I can say, behavior. I mean, cascade delete behavior for a specific entity. So you know how to establish the right primary key, foreign key, and we have already discussed this thing, right? So whenever there is some kind of a relationship, then only that on delete behavior is come into the picture, and we have already discussed in our previous session, right? Here you can say order items, order ID going to the right primary key, foreign key, and in this case, right, it is going to create with cascade delete behavior for this particular foreign key order ID, right? Otherwise, you can apply, right, instead of a cascade, you can apply restrict, set not, and no action. Ignore means what you need to do, you just need to call the ignore method, right? For example, I'm having one entity which I don't want to create as a database table. In data annotation, we are using in not map, and here we need to use ignore, right? Ignore means this will not be created as a database table. Clear?
Yeah,
Clear or not? Right now.
that's
Now,
good.
similar to the primary key, right? Similar to the primary key, which is going to be applicable only once inside a table, right? If you want to have some other properties, other columns, where also you want to maintain uniqueness of the values. For example, I'm having one user table where user ID is auto-generated identity, which is going to my primary key. But whenever I'm going to log in the user, I want to ask, right? I want the user to provide a unique username, or I want the user to provide a unique email address, then in that case, what I need to do is I need to apply some kind of a unique constant, right? So unique constant, and how we can create a unique constant means we need to use has alternate key method. So to this has alternate key method, we can specify on which column, right, you want to create the unique constant. That column you need to specify. Optional name, if you want, you can also provide, right? So if you are not providing, the default name will come into the picture. If you are providing, then this name will come into the picture as the unique constant, right? That is what also pursued. So similar to this unique constant, right? So now if your requirement that a combination of columns should be created as a unique constant, similar to composite primary key. So is it possible to create a composite unique key? Yes, that is possible. How? The same has alternate key method I need to use, but here directly instead of specifying the property name, what I need to do, I need to create an anonymous object. Clear?
Yeah,
Right? So that is what you need to understand. And owned entity means what, right, guys? Remember, owned entity means suppose that entity itself doesn't exist, but can be exist as part of other entity. That means what? That entity is going to be owned by someone else. For example, you can look. So this is my owned entity. I have decorated this with owned, and here this is my address class, right? Address class, and this is my customer class. And in the customer class, I use this address property. So once I use this address property, so this is the data annotation where I have specified, because I have not discussed this one write data annotation attribute. But yes, that is also possible. So in this case, this is going to be my data annotation attribute. I have applied on this address, and this is my customer entity, which also I have applied here. Right? If I do not apply this thing, then whenever if I'm only creating customer, and as this customer is also refer this address, then what will happen in the database? It is going to create a customer table, as well as it is going to create an address table. But as in this case, this address is specified with one, then what will happen? Now, in that case, this customer table is going to be created not only with these two properties, but also whatever property you specified within the address entity, they are also going to be created as part of my customer table. Clear? This is what we can say using data annotation. Clear or not? So one entity means they doesn't exist physically. I mean, they don't have any identity itself, but that is going to be owned by someone else. In this case, customer owned the address. So whatever address property is here, they are going to be created as part of my customer database table. Is that clear?
Yes.
Right? Now you can also specify the same thing using, right, what I can say, data annotation, right? So customer wants one address. Clear?
Yes.
In this case also, whatever properties are there in the address table, they are going to be created inside the customer table, right? So let us understand, right, this complete example, right, one by one. So let me first go ahead and create the order status enum. So this is going to be my order status enum. So this is one enum I have created. And the next what I'm going to do, I'm going to create the address one entity. So in this case, this is my address one entity. You can see I have decorated with one. Right? So because I have not discussed with the data annotation, so both are I'm applying, no issue. So next one, I'm going to create the customer entity. And inside the customer entity, you can see I'm using this address navigation property. One customer can place multiple orders, right? That is what I have also specified. Next one, I'm creating the product entity. Go to the product class and complete this code. So this is my product entity. I have specified the data type as 18,2 for this price column. Description, name, product ID, and each product can be part of a multiple order items. That's what I have specified. Next, what I need to do is order items entity. So go to order items. So this is my order items entity. Here you can see, not this one. So this is order item. I need to go to the order entity first. So this is my order entity, order ID, order date, order status. This order status, it is a enum, right? You can see the values are this one, right? And then, right, you can see this is customer ID, my foreign key. This is my navigation property for implementing, right, the relationship. And this is one-to-one, one order, right? Right, can have only one customer, and one order can have multiple order items. So, right. So next, what I need to do, I need to implement the order items. Right. So this is my order item. Here, order item, product ID, order product. So here you can see this is going to be my composite primary key. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a composite primary key based on this order ID and product ID. This is quantity, this is unit price. So let me do the right. So whatever configurations we have discussed so far, let us put all these things together inside our EF code DB context class. So till now, whatever we discussed, let us have a summarize. So in this case, what I'm doing, I'm configuring the customer entity. So model builder that entity method customer entity. Using this lambda expression, I can specify multiple configuration, right? I can do independently everything, but using this approach, right, what I can do, I can specify all the configurations related to a single entity. So entity data table name. So here entity is referred to customer. So customer table name is going to be TPL customer. Schema is going to be admin. This statement is clear or not?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
So you just tell me entity that has name customer ID. So what is this going statement is going to do?
Primary key.
Primary key for this customer entity, right? Customer ID is going to the primary key. Has alternative name email. So what exactly this statement is going to do? It is going to create the unique constant. Unique constant means what? This column value is also going to be unique like the primary key column value. Clear?
Yep.
Has index. In this case, in this email column, it is going to create an index. What type of index it is going to be? It is going to be unique index. Clear?
Unique index. Yes.
So this customer entity has one address. Means what? This address is not going to be created as a separate table. Rather than whatever
Yes.
properties are there in the address, they are going to be created as part of the customer entity only.
Customer entity.
Right? And here we are specifying that one order, right? So one customer can have right multiple orders, and each order is associated with one customer, and the customer ID is going to be the foreign key. And here the delete behavior we specified as customer. That means when the customer entity is going to be deleted, the related orders are also going to be deleted. Clear?
Yep.
Yes. So here we are implementing a one-to-many relationship between customer and order right now. So whenever a different entity, I need to again specify. So for the product entity, so what are the things I need to do inside the product? Product ID, name, price, description, and order item. So here I'm not doing anything special. I'm simply specifying product ID going to be my primary key. So the next one is order. Now if you look at this order ID, order date, order status, customer ID, and the customer order items, right? So these are the things. So Haj key means this is going to be my, let's tell me,
Primary
order
key.
Primary
going to be,
key.
Primary key.
right? So in this case, the property does order status Haj conversion, right? So this is one important thing. So using this Haj conversion, right? What I can do is I can specify the type of this data. For example, currently, if you look at the status, what is the type of the status? Order status. Order status.
Enum.
By default, enum values are going to be integer type. So what will be the value for pending 0? What will be the value for processing 1?
1.
0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, something like you can say 0, you can see 1, you can see 2, you can see 3. So if I do not specify this thing, then what will happen? It is going to store the integer values in the database for the status. Right? So by default, right, if I do not specify any conversion, then the enum means the data type is going to be integer. So instead of integer, right, what I want to do is I want to store the named constant. So instead of 0, 1, 2, 3, whatever the named constant is there, that what I want to store in the database. So, and if I want to store this named constant, so this named constant means it is a string only. Right? So pending processing, this is a string or not?
Yes.
So what you want to store in the database? You want to store 0, 1, 2, 3? If you want to store 0, 1, 2, 3, then this conversion is not required. No, I don't want 0, 1, 2, 3. I want to store this pending processing completed and cancelled in the database for better readability, better clarity. So yes, you want better clarity. Okay, no issue. So just convert this enum property to string
Yes,
type using
conversion.
conversion method. So in this case, instead of integer, it is going to store the string representation of the enum, not only while setting the data, but also while retrieving the data. Clear? So this is, in this case, this statement is going to represent the enum as a string in the database instead of integer. If I do not specify this, by default, it is going to be integer. If I provided this as conversion string means, this is going to be created as a string. Clear? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay, clear, sir.
Right. So this is going to be my relationship. I don't need to explain anything related to a relationship because yesterday only we have discussed right relationship constant. So this is my order item, and in my order item, I want to create a composite primary key. Right. So how you can do this? Has key method, and using the anonymous object, you can specify which are going to be part of your composite primary key. And this is again, it is your, right, what I can say, relationship. So that what I don't want to discuss because we have discussed this yesterday. So these are the settings what I have provided. Any question, guys? Anyone not understanding anything?
So this may not be related, but can we chain it together, like has key and has alternative in the same line?
Sorry?
Can we chain the method together? Like yesterday, you gave us like this one has many with one or has foreign key. Can we chain it all together?
No, actually, I'm getting little difficult to understand your asset. Can you put your question in the chat window? Or any Indian guy can explain me what he is asking? Yeah, can anyone tell me what exactly he's trying to ask? Because I'm not getting his accent correctly.
Can you say it again, please?
I'm saying that can we put all the method together, like has key with the same line as has one or with many?
ASCII and with many, you want to put all these things within a single configuration, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, that's what it
So that is not possible, and that's what we have already discussed yesterday. It is not possible. So here you are only defining the relationship, and whenever you are defining the relationship, right, you only need to define the foreign key, not the primary key. Clear? Because yesterday only we have discussed, right, how Fluent API is designed, which method I can access, which method I cannot access, why I cannot access, right? That Fluent interface design button we have discussed yesterday. So here you cannot call that right has key method. For example, let me try this one. So I cannot call. See, you can say I'm not getting any has key option. Only foreign key you can define. You cannot define the primary key. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Anyone else having any more question, guys? Okay, fine. Now what I need to do, I need to delete the migration folder, and again, let me generate the database. Now go ahead and generate the migration file. Sorry. Okay, fine. Now let me go ahead and run the application. And before running the application, let me put the data, right? The testing data. Let me put. So guys, I'm making the example more complicated, right? So you have to understand because, right, I don't like to give some 2 line, 5 line or 10 line, 20 lines of code. I
is.
want to
Free
make,
time. It's
right? I
good.
want to make the example more complicated, right? More complex so that you will get more clarity, right? Instead of giving very simple example, basic example involving one entity, two
Hello.
entity, right? So I generally prefer to
Am I
give more
audible?
complicated. Yes.
Yeah.
You want to ask anything? Okay. So now let me do what I'm doing here. I'm using the context object, the same context object I'm passing to all the four method. One of the method is going to create the list of a product. Another method is going to create list of customer. Another method is going to create list of orders with order items. Another method is going to display all the order items, right? So create the products method. So first of all, I'm checking if there is no products, then I'm going to create a right. I'm going to create the product. If at least one product is there, I'm simply returning. I'm not doing anything here. So if as we are going to run for the first time, so in that case, this right any method is going to return false. False means this statement will not execute. And here, what I'm doing, I'm creating some list of products. Right, you can see name, price, description, and all these things for products. And as this is a list, I can make use of add range method. So another guys, remember there is also add range async method. So we have not yet discussed this add range async method, which I'm going to discuss, right? So whenever you are working with a database, right, you always need to use, right, what I can say, right? You need always, you need to use this method, right? You can say, I'm using this task. Okay, so that is what you can see. So till now, I have not discussed right asynchronous programming. So what I'm going with the synchronous code. But guys, remember whenever I'm going to discuss something, right, whatever the next chapter, right, at what I'm going to give you, right, some kind of a hint previously. So instead of add range, I can also make use add range async. Instead of set changes, I can make use of set changes async. Instead of a to list, I can make use of a to list async. Instead of any, I can also make use of a any async, right? So that is also possible. But if I'm using this, I have to use the await keyword, right? So all these things are different. I'm getting error here because this is not a asynchronous block, right? So that's what I'm going to discuss. What is asynchronous programming? And guys, remember, whenever you are working with the entity framework 4 and dealing with database means what means you have to use asynchronous programming. So mostly right after tomorrow's session, we are going to start asynchronous programming, right? And guys, remember this weekend we are having sessions because we have missed a few sessions and we have to cover up those sessions. So this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, mostly I'm going to take sessions. So in this statement, what I'm doing, and this is a list of products. So if it is a single product, I can make use of add method or add async. Whenever I'm going to add a list of products, I mean a collection of entities, I have to use add range or add range async. So here I'm adding and calling the subchanges. So this will add all these entities to the database. Similarly, create a customer. What I'm doing, I'm checking if at least one customer is there, then don't create customer. If not, then create. So here you can see I'm creating one customer, two customer. I have created two customer. I'm adding this two customer to the customers collection and calling, right? See, this is customer division property and then calling the save changes. So this will add two customer to the database. Similarly, this is create custom orders with the order items. If at least one order item is there, I'm not going to create anything. If not, then I'm going to create. For creating order, first of all, I need to access the customer for which I want to create the order. So I'm accessing this first method, email, based on this email, right? I'm fetching one data, right? And you can see pranera.net tutorials.net. This is the email address what I have provided, right? Otherwise, what you can do is, otherwise, if this is not what you are looking for, what you can do is you can directly call this first, right? You can also call this find method and pass the customer ID 1. So whichever the customer ID 1, that data you are accessing here, and here you want to access the second customer, can no issue. I can call the second customer value something like this. So I'm fetching customer 1, I'm fetching customer 2, and then I'm accessing few laptops. So right, laptop name, smartphone. See, here you can please whatever way you want to filter the data or fetch the data, you can do it, right? So here I'm fetching all these products, right? And then I'm creating the order. So while creating the order, whatever the customer ID, whatever the order date, status, and here you can see status, I'm sending order status that pending. So in the database, this pending is going to be stored, not the value what it is showing 0, that is going to be stored. It is going to store this string and then the list of order items. Currently for this order ID 1, I'm having two order item, and while order item, I have also specified what is the product ID, quantity, and the unit price. Similar to this order, I have also created another order. Here you can see I'm having only one item and another order. This is also having one order item. So once this is created, I need to call this add range method. And once you call the set changes method, the orders are going to be created. Orders means the order and the corresponding order items. They are going to be stored in the database. So then what I'm doing here, I'm displaying all the orders, right? So here you can see I'm fetching the customer data. While fetching the customer data, I'm including the related orders. And for each order, right order, I'm also going to load the related order items. And for each order item based on the product ID, I'm also going to load the related product. So they basically customer orders, order items, and products, right? Everything I'm loading here. And then, right, this is a very simple for each loop I have applied for all the customers, and for each customer, all the orders, and for each order, all the order items that what I have displayed here. Right, and finally in the below, I'm just calculating the total price and displaying the total cost, right? So with these changes now run the application and you should see the data as expected. Did we generate the migration, guys?
No.
Order, products, and order items means there is no customer. No customer means we have not
No.
created the migration. So let me delete this one. and create the database once more. So this is CLS, migration, database, and then run the application. And this time you should see the data. So we are getting the data as expected. Clear? Clear or not?
Yes,
Sure.
sir.
This is how you can work with a entity level configurations, right? So that's it for today, right? Tomorrow we are going to discuss property level configuration, how to create a table without using primary key, and asynchronous programming. These three we are targeting tomorrow, Friday. Saturday we are going to discuss how to implement bulk operation using entity framework core, bulk operation using this Z entity framework core extension, and using the extension method EF core bulk extension, and how we can write it to a performance benchmark, right? So these things we are going to discuss on Saturday. And Sunday, I'm going to discuss disconnected entities and working with batch processing with the job scheduler and this storage procedure if time permits it, because this will take more time. So generating this application, this is very similar to your real-time application. Understanding this will take time, but if time permits, we'll discuss. And from Monday, we are going to discuss this entity framework core inheritance concept. Clear?
Yep, nice one. Thank you.
Anyone having any more question,
Okay,
they
sir.
can ask.
Sir, that indexing can we do with data annotation that filter index or include index?
No, no, no.
We
Because
cannot do.
see, the annotation means it's a class,
Mm,
it's a attribute. You cannot write logic,
right.
right? So for that, so that is the reason why I'm saying now, say with data annotation, the configuration is limited. But with the Fluent API, the configuration is more, and more complexity, more complex configuration you can achieve using Fluent API. If there is no differences, then why they're introducing Fluent API? If everything is achievable
Mm,
using data annotation, then what is the meaning of introducing Fluent API? Not required. If they are introducing Fluent API means some of the things is not possible using data annotation.
okay.
Clear, guys?
Okay.
And one more thing, can we do ascending descending on the index in Fluent API? We have
Yeah,
that
yeah.
option.
It's
Okay.
also possible. No issue,
Okay.
right? So everything is possible. Right. So generally what we are doing, right, the simple indexing we can achieve using data annotation. So what I'm saying from the beginning, if something is possible using without doing any kind of configuration, go with the default one. If default is not working, if it is working with data annotation, go with data annotation. If that is not possible with default as well as data annotation, then only you need to go with the Fluent API. So Fluent API is a little difficult to understand and implement rather than data annotation. But yes, sometimes you need to go with the Fluent API because that is not possible with the default as well as we can say using data annotation. Clear, guys? Yes or no? Anyone having any more question, they can ask. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.